how's that going? Hoping you had a good weekend. Welcome to our Monday morning session. Today, what I would like to do, again, as we focus a little bit more on breath work on a Monday morning, is just explore a little bit more about breath rate and the importance of CO2. So a little bit more technical maybe this morning, but we'll do it seated, focusing a little bit on the oxygen advantage as well. So little test to start off with. What I would like us to do is I'll set up the seated position as we always do, and then I just want you to measure your breath rate, your natural breath rate. So not changing the way you're breathing or anything like that, just your natural breath rate. I will time 30 seconds. So what we'll do after the end of that 30 seconds, when you've counted your breath rate, you just double that so you'll know how many breaths per minute that you're actually breathing. One breath is breath in and breath out. So that's one breath cycle. So a full cycle is breathing in and then breathing out. So let's set that up. So take your time just to get your feet in contact with the ground. I'll just get my timer on. And stable on the surface that you're sitting. Tall through the spine, so just lengthen the spine up. And just relaxing into the face, relaxing into your brow, your eye sockets, cheekbones and jaw. And remember, we're not trying to breathe in any particular way. Now, sometimes when we focus on the breath, it will naturally slow, but don't feel as if you have to breathe in any particular way. Now, how you measure the breath, you might want to physically feel your chest, feel your ribs moving, or you may just want to feel that physical sensation, just breathing in and out through the nose, whatever feels the easiest way for you to count the breaths. So just tuning into your breath in whichever easiest way you find to do. And then we'll start counting your breaths now. And stop counting. So just make a note of the number of breaths you took in that 30 seconds, then obviously double that. So you've got your current breath rate per minute. Now that is going to vary. It's going to depend on time of the day, what you're doing obviously, how you've slept, hydration. So all of these things play into your breath rate at this moment in time. But generally the standard breath rate, standard is always a good word, isn't it, is between 10 and 20 breaths per minute in a resting posture. But as I say, lots of different things affect that. Because I can see the Zoom group, if anybody wants to put in the chat what their breath rate was, and I think maybe I can see notifications on Instagram and Facebook as well. So if anybody wants to put in the chat or the comments what their breath rate is. So Sally's in Zoom is putting 14 there. Gillian 10, Yvonne 10, Tom 17. So all of you around about, let's have a look on Instagram, see if anybody's posted on Instagram. Debbie 10. So Instagram, we've got 11 there going on with Granny Gravy on Instagram. That's a good name. So everybody there is roughly in sort of what we call the average breath rate. Kimmy Shanks is 8 on Instagram as well. So when we're doing breath work, we often, what you'll notice is we'll slow the breath rate. So we'll give benefits of slowing the breath rate. And there are a few benefits of slowing the breath rate. Things like you are getting better oxygenation because you're not wasting the dead space in each breath. It tends to help to reduce stress, bring calmness to the body. So there are lots of benefits from reducing the breath rate. And we will have practiced things where we've worked on coherence breathing or cadence breathing, where we've brought the breath rate down to about 6 breaths per minute. So we've almost like halved a lot of what you are breathing there in terms of your natural breath rate. But there are, something I was looking at is there are disadvantages to slowing the breath rate. So I was doing a workshop on Friday and did this with a group of people who've not done any practice before, not done any breath work with me before. And there was one person in the group that was like, well, I actually found that quite anxious. I could feel my heart beating just by focusing on the breath and then slowing the breath rate a little bit. So it's not always the best thing to do if it induces stress. So there are things that slowing the breath rate can do. It can make you start to feel a little bit anxious, a little bit stressed. Also, you could slow the breath, but you could still breathe too much. So you could still hyperventilate by slowing the breath. And that's one of the key things when I first started learning the Oxygen Advantage. Was the big thing I realized is like, yeah, just because you slow the breath doesn't mean to say you're breathing the right volume of air. You could still overbreathe as you're slowing the breath, as you could also underbreathe as well. So there's all of these things we've got to take into consideration. And the key to being able to slow the breath but still feel calm and relaxed is your sensitivity to carbon dioxide. So as we breathe in, we're breathing in oxygen. As we breathe out, we're breathing out carbon dioxide. But if we don't have a good sensitivity to that carbon dioxide as you breathe in and as you start to breathe out, you want to breathe out quicker. So it's all well and good to say, let's slow the breath. But if you've got low sensitivity to that buildup of CO2, it's a little bit more challenging to slow the breath. It can create that feeling of stress, of air hunger. So one of the things we'll do now is another little test is we'll do, if you're thinking of Oxygen Advantage, we call it the BOLT score, the Body Oxygen Levels Test. If you practice Buteyko, it's called the comfortable pause. It's the same thing. I like to use the idea of the comfortable pause because it explains really what we're looking to achieve. It's not holding the breath. We're not doing a breath hold. I'll explain how we'll do it. A lot of you have done it with me before. We just breathe normally, just as you were doing there. We're not slowing the breath or anything. You do a normal breath in and then a normal breath out. And we just pause at the bottom of that normal breath out until you feel that first distinct desire to breathe. So this is where I think the term comfortable pause works really well, because it's easy to say, right, like pause the breath. How long can you hold the breath? Pause, 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 pause. Right, I really need to breathe. We're not going anywhere near that point. We're going to a comfortable pause. So that may be 5 seconds, 6, 7 seconds, 7 seconds, 10 seconds. So it's beyond it's beyond that first feeling, because obviously when you pause the breath, your body's going to go, hang on a minute, I want you to breathe. But it's comfortable. Where do you feel comfortable before you feel a really urge to breathe, that urge to breathe? So if you are happy to have a little go with that, we'll all practice that together. Now, I know it's going to be difficult because everybody's comfortable pause is going to be different, but I'm going to give you 30 seconds. So if anybody goes longer than 30 seconds, that's absolutely fine. You can keep going. If anybody's 10 seconds, that's absolutely fine. Because I can see you on Zoom, just raise your hands when you've done that, so I can see a good idea of where you're at. But if you want to time it too, time it yourselves. But again, what we don't want to do is create that performance anxiety. So we really want to tune in and listen to our body to see where we physically feel that first distinct desire to breathe. Okay, I'll stop talking now. Get your feet in contact with the ground. Nice and stable on the surface that you're sitting again, and tall through the spine. Just getting yourself set up for that. And then tuning in with the breath. Good place to notice the breath. Let's focus on the nose, focus on the nostrils. And then when you're ready, after that normal breath in and normal breath out, pause the breath. And just go to that comfortable place. Just breathe easy when you've come to that comfortable place. Just let the breath settle if you're back to breathing. And good. If you're still pausing, then just when you're ready, just take a breath. And again, everybody's going to be different of this, so there's no real right or wrong numbers on that. What we're looking to achieve is being able to build your tolerance to CO2, but still keeping it comfortable. And we know if you've practiced the Oxygen Advantage, if you've practiced Potato, there's lots of things that you can do to help increase that comfortable pause. One of the things is doing some stronger breath holds. But remember, if you're doing anything beyond that comfortable pause, if you're doing any strong breath holds, there are contraindications. You've got to be careful with that. Avoid any strong breath holds if you're pregnant, if you've got any cardiovascular issues, if you've got any blood pressure issues. So just be really aware that it is putting a stress on the system when you're doing a comfortable pause. Good. Now, one of the easiest ways to slow the breath is obviously you can sit and we can do a count. We've done it before. We've done like 4, 6 and things like that. But one of the things that I think, as we all know, is a really good way of slowing the breath, but taking your mind away from the breath and actually adding a little bit of movement, is some of the qigong practices that we do together. So with it bearing in mind what we've just talked about, the understanding of why we're slowing the breath, let's go into our comfortable standing position and we'll do some of the qigong practice, qigong flow practice that we've done previously. So take your time just to come up to comfortable standing position. And we'll just take my glasses off so I can see the camera. Get your feet about shoulder width apart. Stand tall. We'll just do a little bit of mobilization of the spine to start off with. Knocking, where you just rotate through the spine. Tapping, back and belly. Relaxing the face muscles. Breath is just natural, just soft and easy in and out through the nose. We're just going to bring the hand that comes across the front of the body into a light fist, just tapping just on the collarbone, where you have your pec muscles, chest muscles. Gentle tap. And then back to back and belly. Keep tall through the spine. And then into water waves. Here's where you add just that little bit of resistance. It's like watching a slow motion film, slow motion movie. And take a rest. Stand tall. And we'll go into the qigong flow movements. So with this, we breathe with the movement, or we move with the breath. So just connect that movement with the breath and the breath with the movement. So it's about you following your breath, not necessarily following me, anyone else if you're watching on screen. So we're breathing in. And we're breathing out. So notice there we're doing a nice slow, soft breath in through the nose. It should be quiet. And breath out. And the key is keeping it smooth. And you shouldn't feel any air hunger. If you feel air hunger, then just breathe naturally in and out through the nose. But we want to get that coordination with the movement and the breath as much as possible. And remember, when we slow the breath, you can breathe too much air. So really make sure that you're not pulling too much air in, breathing too much air out. So this qigong movement is Buddha holds up the earth. So it gives you an understanding of what you're doing with the movement. There's a real intention to the movement. So lifting something heavy but precious above your head. Very soft, light, easy breathing. Just 2 more in your own time, following your breath. And then take a rest. Next movement is called Zen Circles. I like this one because you get some movement through the hips. It's nice on the lower back. It's also good as well, just to keep the breath nice and soft and light and smooth and steady. So I'll show you first the movement. So I'm just going to pop my hand on my lower back. So you've got your back of your hand on your lower back. It's nice, warms the lower back up. And then you bring your back of the palm towards, I'm not pushing it onto the forehead, I'm not close here, so keep a little bit of distance there. Forehead, and then we move from the hips and the waist, so you've got that movement, hips and the waist, as is it always with the qigong, as the movement starts from the center point, move from the hips of the waist, and then it's a little scoop down, and then back up. So you can breathe in here, and breathe out. Gentle breath in, and breath out. And the idea is to keep that space in the lower back. So I'll show you from the side here as I'm dropping down. I'm not rounding here. I'm keeping that little space, that little curve in the lower back. And again, if the breath is challenging to keep with the movement, just breathe soft and light and easy in and out through the nose. And then you can swap sides. Movement from the hips and the waist. And the upper body follows that. And take a rest. And final movement, pulling down the heavens. So palms facing up, breathing in, breathing out. And see how slow you can go, again without feeling air hunger. It should feel calming, it should feel relaxed, but see if you can just go that little bit slower, a little bit smoother with the breath. Just breathing just the right volume of air that you need for what you're doing at this moment in time. And then moving into bamboo in the wind, interlocking your thumbs, resting on your lower belly, bringing your feet together. Softening into the ankles and the knees, the hips. Tall, strong through the spine, and just closing your eyes. And just letting your body just gently rock and sway. Maybe spiral a little bit. And now just taking a slightly fuller breath. Opening your eyes, stepping out. Little brush down. Good. Excellent. I hope that's a good way to start your week off. Start your Monday morning and start the week off. Have a little play around with that comfortable pause. Remember, it's not a breath hold. It's not how long can I hold the breath. It's really tuning in to your body to feel that first distinct desire to take that breath. Play around with that. Play around with slowing the breath but still feeling calm and relaxed when you're slowing the breath. That will help to build your tolerance to CO2, so you're not as sensitive to that CO2. And it means you can get all of those benefits from being able to slow the breath in a mindful, comfortable way. If you around Wednesday, we'll be doing a class Wednesday morning, same time, 8 o'clock. If you're on Zoom, 7:45 for the catch-up. Also on Wednesday, I'm doing on Wednesday evening at 7:30 to 8:30 a free webinar that will give you some more information on the Oxygen Advantage instructor training. So Andrew Rich is joining me, my colleague. We're teaching a retreat in Scotland in February. I've also got a London training, got a Spain retreat training as well. So if you're interested in finding out a little bit more about the Oxygen Advantage instructor training, sign up for the free webinar. It's adventuresinmovement.com/Scotland-webinar, or if you're watching on Instagram, it will be in the bio here. If you can't make that time, still sign up. I know, Gillian, I know you'd asked me about, can I sign up and still watch the webinar? If you can't make the time, sign up so that you make sure you get the playback to the webinar as well. So that's if you want to find out about anything about Oxygen Advantage instructor training as well. That's Wednesday, 7:30. Meanwhile, have a great rest of your day. Thanks for joining me this morning, and I'll see you very soon. Take care. Bye. Thank you.